What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show. For 50 years, Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics has been proudly serving the vibrant St. Louis community. As a family-owned and operated practice since day one, the commitment to excellence and personalized care runs deep. They believe in giving back to the wonderful people of St. Louis who have entrusted them with their smiles. Step into the 5 locations across St. Louis with modern offices equipped with the latest orthodontic technology. Their 3 amazing doctors are dedicated to providing top-notch, innovative treatments tailored just for you. Join us in celebrating 50 years with Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics, where your family becomes a part of theirs. Schedule your free consultation today and let them help you achieve the confident, gorgeous smile that you deserve. Because in St. Louis, your smile is your legacy.
Hey St. Louis, Birch Tree Recovery is the newest outpatient mental health and substance use recovery resource in St. Louis. Birch Tree is truly doing it differently. Our science-based humanistic approach, along with a talented team of clinical professionals, will ensure that your time with us is life-changing. Birch Tree's approach to treatment is rooted in research and data. We reject any judgment and shame that may exist and challenge you to live the life you deserve, free of labels and stigma. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, call us. We can help.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
What is that, South Carolina?
It is. It is. I didn't realize. Wow. I went to the Vineyard Vine store in South Carolina. What, that you're the second person today that noticed that? Because John Cannellan, the 2 people that you would most likely think would know, are the 2 that noticed it.
What, your shirt?
Yeah, the logo, the Vineyard Vine in that particular location uses the South Carolina
Vineyard Vines is a big
logo.
Brand.
It is. You know, yeah. This feel us off this.
Why don't we do this on air?
60%
Yeah,
off.
let's keep this rolling. Are we rolling?
Off.
But just keep
We'll start the podcast with this.
Keep it confined
To my sweater.
To his sweater. Don't
No.
it?
Well, here,
That's
let him
how
start.
he starts out. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's
Ooh,
how we
feel
always
this.
begin.
That is a very
let him-
nice sweater.
Here,
It was
Is that cashmere?
Are we talking? Are we on the air?
Yeah, we're on the air.
off.
Oh, okay, we're started.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Buy
I got it in
anything
2
for
colors.
60.
I did. I got it in this color, and I got it in a very a lavender, which I wasn't sure if it was like a masculine color. But at that
I
price,
think
It's
for
not.
you,
There's no such thing anymore.
That's
Wear
how-
what you like.
We all wear
exactly. That's what I
colors.
do.
Yeah.
I wear what I
You're a
want.
big style guy, so I saw you, Ed. Well, first of all, guys, thanks for tuning into the show. We're talking about Ed's cashmere sweater here, but I saw a video with you on Instagram of a jumpsuit. You were wearing this whole like you looked like you were in Run DMC.
Oh yeah.
You know the outfit I'm talking about?
Yeah,
There was a
that's my-
TikTok. You're on an event.
That's my
Sweatcedo.
sweatcedo.
Yeah.
Sweatcedo.
Armenian
Right,
center.
drug dealer or
He
whatever.
looks
Yeah,
good.
that's
He
it.
looked good.
Let me tell you,
Like an
those
Armenian.
Well, have you ever seen
But you wore that
makes
to a business event, right?
I wore, I was giving a speech on personal branding.
Yeah.
And the whole central message of it was whatever you do
Was what not to
advertising wise.
do?
Well, no, the thing is that if you're not memorable, when you're in an industry that
Well, I
can't
remember it.
can't create demand, whatever you do has to be memorable because they don't need you today. So memorability has to go to the top of the pile. And I demonstrate that. I don't just sit there and talk the talk. I walk the walk by wearing that outfit on stage the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a person who was at this event that didn't remember me. They could have had every other speaker come and go.
Yeah.
Everybody remembered the guy in the velour
I remember
tracksuit.
12 years ago, we went to a customer service conference, and the guy who owns the Savannah Bananas is there in a yellow suit.
the whole time. I'm like, who the hell's this jackass in a yellow suit? Oh, he owns this team, blah, blah, blah. But I've never forgotten him. And it's the only reason I know.
And how big have
what
they
the
become in the
Savannah
last
Bananas
10 years?
They
Yeah.
just
They're
got that-
enormous
They
now.
just got that deal with ES. Well, they're coming to Busch Stadium, which that's
Yeah.
going to be a big
Are
deal.
they?
This,
Yeah.
I know.
And
nothing
you've
about
been,
it.
right?
This event, I did. I went down to
supposed to be a
Nashville,
lot of fun.
Tennessee to
It's a
watch them.
baseball league.
They are kind of like what the Harlem Globetrotters are to basketball, the Savannah Bananas are to baseball.
Yeah.
So, and they do it, but they obviously they do it in large fields.
Yeah.
And they put on a show. They make it fun. They goof around the whole time. The kids love it. They have all sorts of games and activities
Is there a
during the
Washington
thing.
Generals?
There is, and the other team, I forget what they call them, but they're firefighters, and so they kind of play up on
Well, they
honoring
take their shirts off.
first responders.
They'll do a flip and they'll throw it and they'll
They-
do a flip and the kids
They
love
do.
it.
They
It's bigger than baseball.
They'll
right
call
now,
in a
I think.
relief
I think it's
pitcher.
bigger
He'll
than
come in
real
on
Certainly
baseball.
bigger than the
Is
Cardinals.
it a
Yes.
hardball?
Yeah. They'll come in and they're good athletes. And you would imagine like the Harlem
Yeah.
Globetrotters that it's guys that maybe for whatever reason didn't make it in the
Savannah
pros,
Bananas.
but they can still have a career.
Boy, it took
Yeah.
a long time for anybody to capitalize on the Harlem Globetrotters.
They're
Yeah.
doing a good job. So they're coming to St. Louis this summer in June. They're coming to Busch Stadium, the Savannah.
Yeah,
Bananas are.
I would highly recommend if you like, if your grandchildren, they would love it. Your kids would,
Yeah.
would love
You'd
it.
like it.
It's just a fun time. Everyone's in the stands
Yeah,
drinking
it reminded
lemonade.
me- I
My
didn't
kids
know
would
what
love
it
it.
was.
Is it possible to bring Busch Stadium into my house so they can watch it while they're on iPads at home?
Was it? No, but they could bring their iPad to the game
game.
with them.
Not if I'm not.
They
if
will
they
let
ask
them
me.
in.
So let me ask you this. I'm about to have my second kid. So you guys, that have kids, what's up with the whole iPad thing? They're just addicted or what? Kids
It's
are?
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Social
horrible.
media or not yet? Not
It's
with
not
yours?
that. It's
Yeah.
I really and I've spoken to doctors about this who say yes, there is something to this. It's different than watching a television. It's different than playing a video game on a television. There's something about the device having it that close to their
Right here.
face, for long stretches of time.
Mhm.
It destroys them.
So what do you do?
Take it away.
Yeah.
And some kids are worse than others, but it really and I've talked to a lot of people like this. When my kids are on their iPads for long stretches of time, it alters their behavior and their personality for sometimes days or weeks afterwards. Like they will need a real detox, and sometimes it takes a while. And
But-
real
But
behavioral
we're
issues
addicted to
at
our
times.
screens too, right?
Didn't they?
we're
Yeah,
addicted
but
to our
didn't
screens.
they say that in our generation, when we were growing up, about the number of hours we watched television every day? We were latchkey kids. You may not have
They
been,
were
but
wrong.
but they weren't. Because
Actually, maybe not.
I mean,
Maybe we're all
I watched
messed
TV
up.
nonstop.
And look at you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
As you were growing up,
But
like,
that's
you would
what I'm
stay after
saying.
It's
school
not
all the
like
time.
a,
Maybe let's talk.
That's like not like an endorsement.
I'm just no. My point is that just this generation's television?
It's not because
And
I bet
you
you know
guys
what?
are watching,
Yeah,
reading books by
yeah,
candlelight.
no,
for you.
I-
I don't know what you were doing.
because it is
Every-
so. It is not hypothetical. It is visible. It is obvious. It is clearly correlated to it. It
But
is
how do we know that it
unquestionable.
will lead to a bad thing?
Because you see it in
But
the immediate sense.
Like,
I don't know the long term,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you in the short term,
Mhm.
it is
And you
obvious.
can see it in real time because you're dealing with it. Yeah.
Huge.
I didn't know we were going to talk. I thought you were going to say, I just had my second kid. What am I going to do?
Well, that's what I was asking about the
I was
pads.
gonna
the
say
iPad. My wife's in
vasectomy.
education, and we have
No,
a
you
10-month-old.
need
I'm about to have another one.
vasectomy,
Yeah.
so you have no more kids. to
Well,
worry.
I will
Needs
say this:
more
we
kids.
put it off for our kids, the devices, as long as we possibly
Yeah.
could. The only time they ever got them, until they were probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, was when we were on airplanes.
Yeah.
And then we took them away. We didn't give them access. What happens is it is really the primary means of communication with their friends. So
Mhm.
at some point when they get to an age where they need to be communicating with their friends outside of school independently, that's the only way to do it. So you don't really have a choice. It's almost like when they talk about being a food addict or an alcoholic, you still got to go to places where they serve food. You got to eat. You got to go. It's one of those
Right.
things where
It's
you
a
can't
necessity.
totally
Fine. Have
take
your
it
kids
away.
gotten?
It's a
I
necessity.
saw my daughter. The kids share each other's locations with each other.
Yeah.
So she can just show up to the mall, go on some app, and immediately see
Know
which
where
of her
friends are.
friends are all in the mall
Yeah.
and what stores they're all in.
Yep.
So if they all want to hook up
Huh.
or avoid each other,
Now,
they
let me
can do
tell
that
you
too.
one
My
other
whole wife's
thing.
family does that. They all have
crazy.
all their locations.
other
I
Everybody
don't
knows
turn
where
my
everybody is.
nobody. The fact that you guys even know where I am right now is
But
against my
you,
will.
You were a young man on the cusp of older middle age.
Okay.
yeah.
And I believe that every generation of men thinks the world is going to hell. Now, someday there'll be a generation that'll be correct. But I think most people think as they get older, they start getting fairly pessimistic about
and then it changes as you
about
get older.
how-
You're like,
that's
it's actually
how-
pretty good. You're like, it's
But
actually
that's a
actually-
different
just-
thing.
I mean, but everybody, like he said,
I'm at peace with it.
the talk about television was the exact same talk. I'm not saying it was the exact same thing,
Mhm.
but it was the exact same. Television ruins everything. I'll bet you radio ruined everything. Who knows? Maybe it
think-
is. Maybe one time one of these things will.
I mean, they
ruin
I think
predicted
it's a
a tremendous failure for me based on the number of hours of television that I watched, and I did okay.
But I think it was different because they're predicting long-term effects
I
back
mean,
then.
I definitely think the attention span is terrible as a result of a lot of these.
How quick
maybe
information
not.
goes
But what
in
I'm
video.
saying is I know many people who have experienced this. I've talked to doctors about it. There is clearly some short-term, immediate behavioral issue associated
Mhm.
with screen time and screen time use for some kids. And I don't know if it's both of them have ADHD. I don't know if that's a component of it because there seem to be, just like with adults, some kids
Mhm.
can handle it, some kids can't.
like
Yeah.
smoking.
Well, let me ask you this: what about
Some people
books?
smoke
Was it
their
ever
whole
like
lives.
that? Now you may be too young
He
to know
mentioned the
this,
books by the candlelight.
but was you may be too young for
I'm
that?
not too young for anything.
But was there a time where there was ever concern that kids were spending too much time reading?
You're
That
reading
their
too
nose-
much. You'll
here-
turn your mind
Every
into
time I
mush.
look at him, his nose is in a
Oh,
book.
No, I think you're correct. I'm too young for that. But I think as publishing got popular and larger, because you got to remember, 100 years ago, nobody had books in their house. I mean,
Right.
books were a rare thing.
But reading
But
is still
when-
kind of revered
when-
as somehow this phenomenal activity, even though to me it's just another form of entertaining yourself and bringing in information.
But it's a different experience.
I think the
Whether
screens,
or not
yeah.
it's
The
really a
screens,
better
the
one,
lights,
who knows?
the sensory
But
stuff.
it
you
is
get.
but it is a different.
But it's a more
experience.
active use of your brain.
But if you knew that your daughters, all they were doing on their devices was reading books on Kindle,
would
would
be
you still
thrilled.
feel the
You'd
same
be-
way?
yes, there's
What is it,
something
YouTube?
You
about
think it's the electronic screen?
I do.
Well,
I
they
do.
have
So
that
it's
thing
the
about the
screen.
blue light or something.
I don't know
where
what
they
it
tell
is,
you
or-
not to read an hour before
Well, it's
bedtime.
Or having it right in your face.
Yeah, and that may
Why
be.
do they even call it a blue light? I don't see any blue.
Well, so they now they
Just
have
saying.
the glasses.
Seems
Well,
like a little BS to me.
let's
Might be.
actually talk about you a little bit here, Terry. So
Oh, my favorite
Why
son.
him?
He's
we're gonna
the
start with
oldest.
Terry. We're gonna
No.
start oldest, and
Yeah.
we're gonna go down. I guess you're
I'm
the
the
second
baby.
oldest.
No,
No?
I'm the baby.
Oh, he's older.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
be thrown. He just has a full head of hair.
He's got beautiful hair.
It is. It's beautiful
thank you.
hair.
Thank
But
you.
There's
Terry,
just a lot of it.
Terry, I read that ever since you were a
Where
kid,
did you read that?
on your guys' website.
Oh,
So
yeah.
somebody wrote it at some point across the line.
I wrote it. Yeah.
That you always wanted to be a lawyer. Is this true? And even when you were a kid?
Well, it's not exactly true. My father was a bail bondsman,
Okay.
and I don't know if you're familiar. I don't think they're not as big as they used to be.
Yeah.
But bail bondsmen used to really, they did a lot of dirty work in society.
Mhm.
They got people out of jail who, for whatever reason, had run afoul of the law, and he was a bail bondsman, and so he dealt with the court system, and he knew a lot of lawyers. He was very close friends with a lot of criminal defense lawyers. We're a bunch of great guys. They hung around our house all the time, and he felt that this was a career, that he thought it was like printing money. He always used to say that. So he encouraged me very strongly to go to law school and to be a lawyer. And I had no real other aspirations, so it wasn't like I always wanted to be a surgeon or anything.
Right.
So I did, and that's why I became a lawyer, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And Andy, it was kind of the same thing. He saw me and saw what I did, and I guess I really don't think I pushed you into being a lawyer.
No, I don't think so.
No, but I think I was actively pushed. Andy just saw that it was a good career and decided to come.
And a lot of people do with their dad. Like when you see your dad doing something, and like you said, bail bonds isn't as popular as it used to be. But I do know what a bail bondsman
Yeah, it was
is.
never very popular.
Yeah.
It was a very.
So was he a
very-
bank to criminals, basically? He was loaning money out to criminals and to
wouldn't
get them
loan
out
it.
of jail. And
What happens is, let's say you commit a burglary. The bail is set at $5,000.
Yeah.
Generally, the bail bondsman charges 10%.
Yeah.
Back then, or sometimes more.
Yeah.
And he puts up property. you're out, and then if you show up, everything's forgiven.
Yeah. No, that's
And
interesting.
if you skip your bond, he's out the money. That's why they
Yeah.
get those bounty hunters.
And
like
they
a
come
midnight
after
run.
you. That's right.
Yeah. So the bounty hunters and
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, I
kind of like
remember
a gambling debt too.
They
They're
used
kind
to.
of like a
They
bookie.
used to go. I remember
Mm.
my dad. I remember went to California to get a guy.
Yeah.
He and my brother and the driver drove to California to get a guy
From St. Louis.
And the only
Wow.
reason I remember it, he said the driver, when they got there, they went to get the guy, and the driver laid in the front seat and put his feet out the window because he wanted to relax, and he got burned so bad, sunburn on his feet, that he couldn't drive back. So they left him in California. We don't know what happened.
What was it? A convertible? Was his whole body
No,
getting a
I
tan,
think
or
it
he
wasn't a
literally is just
convertible.
like, you know what?
Was it a
I
Flintstone
just want to
vehicle?
tan my
I
feet.
think
Was
he
it a
really
Flintstone
wanted to
vehicle?
just
Yeah, it
stretch
must
it.
be.
I think he wanted to just stretch his legs.
Bare feet?
Was his legs
Yeah.
were out the window?
That's-
You know when
that's
you're
the
sitting on a
story.
road
You
trip
know,
and you put
yeah.
your feet up?
Of course, I'd love to go back and see what actually happened. This is the
That
story.
sounds
was
like he's the
told.
criminal.
So what about you, Ed? How did you get into this world? I mean, how long have you been with Brown and Crouppen?
I joined in the summer of 2001, so it's 20.
24
It's
years.
my 24th year now.
Wow.
I had worked before then in a couple of other local law firms, just trying to find my forever home back then.
hmm
And Brown and Crouppen, I'm not from St. Louis. I'm from New York.
Okay.
I had been living out here since law school, and even in that short period of time, I watched a lot of television, as we talked about earlier. So I saw the commercials all the time. It was a strange phenomenon. I was on the defense side. I was really unhappy. And I went to a court appearance out in Illinois, and I ran into a buddy from law school. And this is why it pays to be honest with people and not try to make your life look better than it really is. Because he said, "Oh, how are things going?" And a lot of people, just not wanting ever to show any sign of weakness, would be like, "Oh, everything's great. Oh, how's the job? Oh, love it, doing great." Not me. He said, "How are things going?" I'm like, "I'm miserable." I'm like, "I hate my job. I was on the defense side. I hated defense work." I said, I just need to get back on the plaintiff side."
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, I heard," and this is when the firm was much smaller. He said, "I heard Brown and Crouppen lost two of their attorneys in the course of 2 weeks." Remember, it was Buddy Johnson and Arthur Hogue.
We just lost him.
They
We
just lost
missed- We misplaced
Couldn't find him.
him.
Right.
Just
You
couldn't find him
should
anymore.
tell the Buddy Johnson story about how he left, because that's just priceless. But anyway, I literally, and maybe this is a testament to how good the advertising even was back then.
Yeah.
I had never met Terry before. Andy wasn't even with the firm yet. And Terry, I had seen buying potato chips one time online, and I was too nervous to even approach him there. But for some reason, because he was
Online
on TV,
meeting. He was waiting.
He
in
was
line,
waiting
not
on a line.
an online
The old
person.
kind
Yeah.
of
Okay, I
on.
was
The
like,
old
you bought
online.
online potato
No, he's
chips
got a
and
bag of
2000.
The
potato
old
chips.
time on.
It was at 200 North Broadway. It was in that little convenience store.
Barbecue.
And who would have known,
Red
at
Hot
that
Riblets?
point, that what our paths would eventually intertwine.
So
But
you
anyway,
wouldn't talk to him, but you knew who he
I
was.
didn't. But
Yeah.
but when I heard this from my friend at the courthouse, I said, "You know what? I'm just going to call Terry on the phone." I just thought, he's on TV all the time. I'll call him. I'll leave him a voicemail.
Yeah.
I called him. I left him a voicemail. I introduced myself to him. And very shortly thereafter, it might have even been later that day, I got a call from our office manager asking me to come over and meet the guys. And then like that, we hit it off immediately.
Yeah,
We
it was
did.
like that.
There was a sensibility. There's a certain, not everybody can be a plaintiff's lawyer.
Mhm.
It takes a certain kind of personality.
Everybody decent
Right.
can be a plaintiff.
Yeah, but you have to want to do it. Like you have to be born with that little bit of kind of, you don't trust the system. You know that
Mhm.
there's something corrupt in it. It's just you've seen too many examples of it.
Mhm.
You see too many people get taken advantage of, and you come from that little place of like wanting to stick up for the kid that's getting picked on.
Right.
A lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, a lot.
Those people who can't tolerate that and who need to be the ones to step in, they're the ones that are made to do plaintiff's work. That's
Mhm.
who you find. That's who the best lawyers are. Anyway, I met over it. We immediately clicked, and Ron Brown, the other founder who's no longer with us, called me that night, made me an offer. I called him back the next day and took it, and the rest was history.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
and
shooting your shot, really. You just called.
that
Wait, you
Yeah.
started when?
in the summer of 2001.
And then I'm going to have to call your son Brody to find out when I started.
You started in October of 2003.
Oh, wow.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think it was 2003.
Did your son
it
work
was.
there, too?
It was.
Oh.
2003? Okay.
Could have been 04.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
that
It
late.
was
that right
definitely.
out of
I was
law school?
thinking-
Was that right out
No,
of law school?
I was
No,
out of law school.
You did. It was
for
like October
couple years.
3rd, I think.
So
of
you were there for
2003.
what, 2 years before me, roughly?
2 years, yeah.
Okay.
But we actually had spoken to each
Yeah.
other on the phone.
Yeah.
I was helping on something to do with your
Yeah.
AT&T account. So that was, again, it's
That's
weird.
right.
You never
Way
know.
back in early 2000s.
And now,
Yeah.
like Andy and I, we've been working
Feels like
together
so
for
long ago,
21
doesn't it?
years.
It was.
It was.
But it's crazy when we think about waking hours and the amount of time that you spend with other people in your life.
Tons.
Right.
I believe that I have spent more waking hours with Andy than any other human being that's ever been on the planet. I did the math on this at
Man.
one point. And, when you factor in, your kids, you spend a lot of time, but then they go to school and then they go to college.
Yeah.
When you're talking daytime waking
Yeah,
hours,
that, 4
Yeah, I
and
mean,
50.
it's
number one.
So you guys were working closely together back then.
We even
Yeah.
now,
now.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
never really changed.
Yeah.
We've always kind of
But
worked
you
side
know
by
what?
side.
You're right about that thing about special people being plaintiffs' lawyers. There is something about that. There's something about the negotiation.
Mhm.
I mean, and it's bigger than the law.
Yeah,
I was in Morocco, and we have a guide, and he takes us into the shop, and the shop is like like just a bunch of antique-y sort of things
Mhm.
in a big like market. It's you're real, just what you'd imagine
Mhm.
in Africa. And we go in, and I see some vases, and I think, boy, those are kind of cool.
Mhm.
And I go up to the guy, and he says to me, hello. I say, hello. He says, yeah, you got vases. And I say, how much for them? And he says, I don't remember, 2,000, 1,000, whatever he says. And in that moment, he looked at me, because now we're negotiating. And I look at him, and it was like two souls were on the same wavelength.
Both
He
wanting to
knew
make a
I was
deal
going to
happen.
negotiate. I knew he was. And so you run into people like that.
Yeah.
Well, you got to negotiate.
there's
It's
what
what
life's
it's all
about.
about, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a real art form, and it's a real.
I feel like we're losing that art form a little bit now with
Hey,
things. I don't know. I negotiate everything. My wife gets uncomfortable when we're buying a mattress or a car because I
don't
already
think-
know it's not their lowest price.
And
I'm a
you already-
salesperson too.
you
I
Most
know
already
people
know.
don't though, which is always
it's so easy. You just ask
really
one
shocking.
time. You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
And-
well,
and you just want
ask once.
your wife to butt out.
I know.
You know what I
She's like,
mean?
you're making it
Because-
uncomfortable. I'm
Well,
like,
you
no,
know,
we're
we
saving
should
money.
get- we should
Right.
get-
And you
let's
end up
give
you're
people a tip.
negotiating against the other
give us a
guy
tip.
and your
let's,
wife.
Let's all give
Well,
a tip on
the
the
biggest
best
tip
way to do it.
is everything is negotiable, even when you think it's not. I mean, you can go to Best Buy and it's negotiable.
Yeah.
People think and it's a little disappointing. I was talking to Sirius satellite radio the other day,
Mhm.
and it's aggravating that kind of stuff is negotiable.
Right.
It's
Because they have a bunch of special deals in their back pocket
Right.
to get people back when they've left, or
Yeah.
but it should just be
It should just be. the
it should be
price.
like a utility, electricity. Now, I don't even know. Ameren, maybe they'll negotiate your bill if you don't pay them for long enough.
They might.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like Sirius, I called because I had to add a radio, and it was like, oh, sir, your other radios, you're paying $22 a month. I have a special. You can pay $8 a month. Would you like that?
Yes.
Of course I would. But why is it that it's triple the cost if I don't call?
Right.
If you don't
and
say
Well,
ask?
that's the thing. Let me ask
Everything
you
is
this. I mean, don't you
negotiable.
find that at a minimum, because I know a lot of people are nervous about initiating a negotiation. They
Mhm.
don't know how to do it. I would say that in most places, the easiest thing that anybody could do is, number one, go online and do a comparative
sure.
price.
Yep.
That
It's easy.
there's no reason not to. You have the item in front of you. You can show them online, brand new. Somebody has it for less. Most places, at a minimum, will match. Some of them will beat the match. That shouldn't be uncomfortable for anybody. The other thing you could do is, you know that these things go on sale. You know that places have sales all the time. Being able to say, you know what, I really do want to buy this, but I also know that you're not running any sales right now, and you'll probably have this on sale
Yeah.
sometime in the next few weeks at a better percentage. Or I've noticed in the past that you've had 20% off of these. Right now, you're not. And if you're dealing with a decent salesperson, you should be able to say, well, let me check with my manager
Yeah.
to see if they'll honor the discount or give it to you sooner, especially like Black Friday deals coming up. They know that there's deals coming up. You should be asking for them now. I mean, these places, everybody needs to sell. They all have
Yeah.
product, and they need to move the product. We act like they have all the leverage in the situation because they have the product. You have the leverage. Whoever has the money has the leverage.
The funny thing is,
Especially
the
now,
thing
'cause
that
you can get it anywhere.
has become less negotiable over time is cars. You'll find that the internet price often, I guess it's become so competitive.
That's the
is
thing.
They just
often,
put their price. They're like,
yeah,
this is
they
the
put
lowest.
like this is about maybe you can get a couple $100 off sometimes. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's more, but those prices used to be wildly negotiable.
No, the only place, and you negotiate with cars all the time. I imagine that the only place that there's more give is in how much they give you for your trade-in when you're trading in your car.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
I think
They'll
you have
overpay.
to go hard there because
Mhm.
I think the rest of it, I think it's become a pretty low-margin business.
Depending on what it is. I saw this thing the other day on like exotic cars, and I was shocked. They were breaking down what a $300,000 car was, and it was like $80,000 of it goes to the dealer. 25,000 is for kind of future maintenance under warranty that they're going to have to do. 75,000 is marketing. And when it came down to it, the car itself, you were paying about $120,000 for a $300,000 car. It was amazing the way they broke it down, how many other things really went into
Yeah,
the price
I mean,
of it.
it's insane to even think about cars that are that expensive. Although
Oh,
I know
it's
the
crazy.
exotic
I'm not
ones,
buying
I know
one.
they're out there.
I just happened to see a YouTube. It's
Well,
amazing
no,
the
most
YouTube
cars aren't.
videos
Yeah.
you'll watch on subjects that have no
Nothing to do with what you
relevance
do.
to you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
But they're
you know,
interesting.
There's a
Yeah.
whole other lifestyle that the uber rich are living, and it's amazing that they're even amongst us at all anywhere. But there are whatever product you have, there is a version of that in uber rich, and you'll sit there scratching your head saying, I don't understand.
Yeah.
How could it go from that
Yeah.
to that?
Mhm.
I mean, there are watches that are 7-figure watches. You know, they're
That's
watches.
a new
Oh, yeah.
thing in the last 20, 30
All
years,
right,
it
yeah.
feels
Watches.
like.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
But then there's a $500 watch that's just great.
you can get
Yeah.
a $10,
Or $10.
Casio or a
Yeah.
Timex, and they keep time just fine.
Yeah.
It's clearly not about that, but it's just amazing. It's like it's as if these uber wealthy don't know what to do
Right.
with their money, and they're like, just give them a fancier version of the same exact stuff that they.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was
I mean, there's only so many different types of
Right,
things.
exactly.
But
And
like-
let me let me add one
Yeah.
thing. The one thing about you said it something about negotiating.
Mhm.
Don't ever underestimate the joy of a successful negotiation.
Mhm.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Getting
it's
a
fun.
good price.
But I have
Oh,
to
sure.
stop
Yeah.
myself at times, like because sometimes I
Because you
feel
guys negotiate
bad.
differently than
Well,
where
it's
I would
not-
negotiate in a deal, like a marketing deal,
It-
is different than,
yeah,
than
yeah.
on a person's behalf. There's
But you
two
also
different
have to
types.
determine when it's appropriate because
Yeah.
sometimes you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's great. But like sometimes you're at a flea market and this is this person's livelihood.
Exactly.
And they're
Right, right.
clearly just scraping by.
Right.
And in those instances, I will just, how much is it? $20. I know I could get them down to 10, but
Right.
I'd rather not.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I just think
right.
it's the wrong thing
That's
to
just
do.
kindness.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just you
and
being
that goes
kind.
back to
I-
kindness.
but-
but there are
but-
some people you should
but-
take advantage of.
Regular negotiation
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
between two equals.
Yeah.
Getting I find it to be
It's
a-
very satisfying.
yes. It's an
So how do you guys
intoxicatingly
negotiate
nice
on a daily
experience.
basis? Is this for your clients, basically?
We
You know,
we of
with-
course we negotiate on a million different fronts. Our biggest, of course, is with the insurance company to try to
Yeah.
resolve our claims. But we negotiate medical bills down
Yeah.
so that we got to negotiate on property damage.
And that's
We gotta
that's a huge
Yeah.
thing. Don't ever
Huge.
the medical bills are very
Yeah, those are
workable.
Oh, they have
oftentimes.
to be because
Oftentimes you can get more
Well,
on the medical
because
bills
there's
than
no
from the
real-
insurance.
there's
Because there's no real
price.
price.
Right.
no-
There's
That's
no
right.
real
There's no
price
real
for medical.
data.
It's
They just-
all what the different insurance
It
companies
is.
will pay
You can
for.
have the same procedure. What's the cash price? $22,000. What's the Medicare price? $8,000. What's the health insurance price? $7,000. I mean,
crazy.
it's
It's like Monopoly
is.
money.
It's
It-
crazy.
it really
for the
is. It's-
exact same thing.
That's a problem.
It's a problem, and it's an opportunity for us
Yeah.
to be good at our job because it is a series of negotiations. Then, of course, just running a business, we're
Right.
negotiating. Like we run a lot of ads. Everything we
network.
run is a negotiation with the networks, the billboard companies, the
What
radio
about Meta?
stations.
Facebook. You can't negotiate.
We
with Meta.
negotiate. No,
Oh,
you
you
do.
haven't?
I mean,
Yeah, would you
to the
spend enough?
extent that you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have your vendors. You have all your agencies that do all of your
Mhm.
SEO and SEM and everything else. So no,
Yeah.
I feel like our lives are a nonstop. It's
Right,
all we
and
do.
and that's why
It's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of it.
lawyers don't want to go home and negotiate with their families.
Exactly.
You end up
You just
negotiating
don't
with-
want. You just
I
want to
don't-
go home.
You're my child. You're my
Right,
wife.
right.
Leave me alone. I've
Right.
been doing
Do you have
this
an
all
example of
day.
how you? I mean, obviously, this is your son. What's a negotiation that maybe you won with him as a kid?
Oh,
Probably
With
everything.
Andy?
Yeah.
None.
Very
I was
rare.
gonna say.
Very rarely.
says-
And nothing's changed.
Was there
Very-
anything that you
it's
won, or did
very-
he always win those ones? Because like you said, you were tired. You're like, just whatever.
You know,
go.
when he says, when you negotiate with somebody who clearly needs the money,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to negotiate when your loyalty and your emotion rests with the person you're negotiating
Exactly.
with.
Also, I
You
can
know.
tell, having been a person who's been forced to wear each of them down,
Yeah.
it is much easier to wear Terry down than it is to wear Andy down.
Do you think that comes with age, though? Has
Yes.
it became
Yeah,
softer
I think
with
it
age?
comes. I
Yeah.
think it comes with wisdom.
Yeah, with
I-
wisdom.
And I don't
I
know.
think he gets older.
when
and
you call softer,
you know.
I call humanity.
Wise.
you know?
Humanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just are like, hey, I don't
Or
care as much.
exhaustion.
Yeah, you don't
right.
want to.
No, that's definitely what it is. It's
Yeah.
just you
You
know,
get to a point where it's like, I don't care anymore.
older, wiser, doesn't want to put up with the fight, gives in, just
Yeah.
like whatever,
Yeah.
just do
No,
it. Just how do you
that's-
spare me from having to hear
that's-
any more about
that's
it?
true.
Taking years off your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
Andy,
Yeah.
what's it like working at the family? Because this is a family business at the end of the day. I mean, you guys are a lot bigger than you were
Yeah.
20 years ago. I mean, you guys have grown. I'm looking at your website. I mean, you just scroll all these people, but like, it's still a family business at the end of the day.
It looks like
So-
we hire a lot of bearded men. What's going on there?
a
Looking
lot,
at the-
a lot of
Well,
beard,
well,
a lot of bearded
beards.
women.
Beards are in.
They are.
They have been
They've-
for
I've
like the
been,
last.
but I've been through two or
A lot of
three
beautiful hair here. On
yeah,
the
but are
website.
beards?
beards in and outs.
But are beards
Not on Zaleski.
in? Is there a correlation between obesity in America and beards? Like, is
To
there are
cover
they
up?
often used to cover
Oh,
up?
yeah.
No, beards are the men's makeup. It
Yeah.
covers up a lot of things
Yeah.
that don't.
No,
look
Yeah,
no.
because you know what? There are some people with big beards who look kind of cool,
Yeah.
and they shave them and like,
Well,
oh my God, you are
you do a
goofy
beard with the
looking
hat
dude.
and you look good.
First of all,
And
when
you gotta look
when
good.
anybody has a beard and they've had it a while, when they shave it, they look ridiculous.
Terrible.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
why I
probably
don't
true.
shave it.
It's true.
And
I don't
you
even
got-
know how to smile
You
without
got
a
a
beard
lot
anymore.
of neck that
Yeah.
a beard
Speak for
covers
yourself.
up.
Yeah.
People do.
You do.
Yeah.
You have more.
Especially
You
as
certainly
you get
have more
older.
neck than you realize when
Yeah.
you shave
Well,
that
you
beard.
have more neck than you want.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure it comes in handy
And then,
in certain
then
senses.
there's
What about the
certain
goatee?
People that
It counts. The beard, Joe.
Yeah,
Frank,
for sure.
Man,
We're looking at all your guys' employees. We're
will
judging their
notice, though, there's
beards.
something about the goatee. It always makes a person look like their own evil twin. What is that about the goatee?
it's what it was Mr. Spock. Do you remember the
yeah,
famous Star
the
Trek
episode.
guy?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was like
The
you have
evil
him,
one.
But it
But
is
the-
sort of
but
an evil
that's sort of a thing.
associated with that. I don't know why.
I mean, a lot of times you'll see pictures of Lucifer, and
There's
he'll have a little
something-
goatee.
You know,
Englishman.
I won't name names, but there was someone we hired at one point that originally interviewed with a goatee,
I remember
and I think we were all off put by the look.
we were, and he had longer
And-
hair as well.
Yeah, and then
Very
interviewed
Lucifer,
again
very
Yeah.
loose.
without a goatee, and we hired him.
Yeah, it was 10 years later.
Yeah,
It took him 10 years to get back in
Yeah.
the door, and
Yeah.
all he had to do was shave.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Listen, I don't think that was like our reason, but it
No,
definitely,
no.
but it definitely factored
it was
into our
noticeable.
head.
We remembered it.
Goatees,
remember that.
it's memorable.
Kind of the opposite of the Eagle Scout. Ed and
Right,
I always
right.
joke, I don't know that we've ever interviewed
Yeah.
someone who was an Eagle Scout that we didn't hire.
Right.
They got a great work ethic.
Yeah.
Like just somebody like clean, like just great work
many
ethic.
Eagle-
or
I think
just,
so.
They just
How
have
many
they put that on their
Eagle
resume.
We've had a
Scouts have
handful.
We had a
Do
handful.
they put
yeah,
Eagle Scout on their
all
resume?
resumes.
Is
So
that-
yeah,
is
Eagle
that a pretty
Scouts,
good thing to
yeah,
put on their
they
resume?
do,
Yeah.
and they should.
I didn't even think about
At
that.
least if they're applying
you
for a
need it.
job with
No,
us.
no, I'm
Oh.
not. I was
Oh.
in Boy Scouts, but not an Eagle Scout.
Oh,
I
it's
didn't- I didn't
it's
last
too
it out.
late.
I didn't last it
Yeah,
out.
no, you
Can I
got
go back?
no, you got to get it before you're 18.
No exceptions.
No exceptions.
So going back to the family business, though, so I mean, you guys have this culture. I mean, I was just at your guys' office. First of all, your new office is unbelievable.
Thanks.
The giraffe's probably my favorite
That's
part.
because of these two.
You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. I didn't see where you guys worked at before, but creating this,
It was a dump.
and you're on the hill, you're in this beautiful
It
neighborhood.
was in the
It
back
is
of a
This
van.
huge building. I mean, the building's huge. First of
Yeah.
all, I mean, you guys got a huge team out there. But how important is the family to the culture that you guys are creating? I mean, is that something that you guys actively work about
I think
and think
so.
about?
I think we've always thought of the culture as being sort of family oriented, and I think that's the feeling people get. As you get bigger, that gets harder and harder, but we always try to keep that
Mm-hmm.
spirit alive.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture of the firm is one of the most important things. Obviously, the biggest thing is providing great legal service.
Right.
And then beyond that, I think providing great customer service.
Mhm.
But in order to do that, I think if you don't treat the people you work with every day like their family, they're going to have a harder time when they're dealing with the clients, treating them the right way. So I think
Right.
that sort of mentality really goes through everything we do. It really is a family.
Yeah.
And I think we have people who have met their spouses there. We have had people,
That's
great.
many people who have
We've
met
had
their
weddings.
best friends
We've had
there.
weddings.
Yeah, we had a wedding at our
actually,
Christmas party
at the
once.
wedding at the Christmas.
Really?
Did
No,
you have it at your
surprise
guys'
wedding.
office there in
Yeah.
the big
No,
space?
No,
it
it's
was
not
at
You guys had a
Union
big
Station.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
No, we did it at Union Station. Was one of our Christmas parties about 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a surprise wedding. They knew.
Yeah.
But like we hadn't said to the firm because it was, two people who were both leaders at the firm that were
Yeah.
marrying each other. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a
But it
surprise
is-
wedding.
I
It was
think
That's really
fun.
cool.
It is very much a family culture, but like to Andy's point, it has to be that way because the way that you treat your family is not how you treat everybody else.
Mhm.
And the way that you have to treat your clients in a law firm like ours, it has to be like family. It really does, because these people are going through a very, very challenging time and they don't know anything. They're kind of like lost in the woods. Things are not going well, and they require people that have a tremendous amount of care and patience, the kind of care and patience that you don't get outside of family.
Right.
Only family is going to give you that level.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that's
imagine
true.
you're dealing with someone, a client, who's dealing with the worst thing they've ever dealt with, which for many people, that's
No,
the
it's
case.
every day with us.
And now the person on our end who's in charge of that, let's say they hate their job. We treat them terrible. They're miserable. They dread getting up. How are they going to treat this person the way they need to? They need to have the ability to love what they do and care about people and the people they are helping and get emotionally invested in the case. I think that's another thing about plaintiffs' attorneys. You have to have that ability, not even ability, because it's less about trying to do it and more it's just how it happens.
Empathy.
You hear about the story and you're immediately emotionally invested. Well, that sucks. That shouldn't have happened to this person. I'm going to figure out what I can do to help be this person's hero.
And what we do is, remember, the model for what we do is the family, because the family is where you go to when something bad happens and you need to recharge, you need help,
Support, yeah.
you need support, you need love, you need people that care, people that go out of their way for you to help you put things back together.
Mhm.
Any successful law firm has to be a family.
And you guys will have you'll have a handful of people working with that one client on
Oh
different
my
ways,
God,
whether
yeah.
it's the
Yeah. They
communication
have
with
a
the
whole
insurance
team.
company,
Oh,
then
we
the
have-
other person's communicating, then they have a head lawyer, assistant
I think
lawyers.
there are
We do.
20 plus people who touch
Touch
every
a file.
file
And
Really?
and the
Wow.
thing is
in one way.
and
Wow.
it's so that everybody
That's
has
great.
an expertise, and we may as well take up 30 seconds to something that distinguishes us from the other law firms in town. And I'm sure a lot of them do a great job, so I'm not going to say anything negative about them. But I know on our side, like everybody who works on the file is trained and expert at the part of the file that they have to work on.
Yeah.
Very few firms have an entire team of medical paralegals that are trained nurses
Mhm.
who, when they're not just compiling your records. They're going through these things.
They
and they're-
understand the
yeah,
records.
they understand. They're picking things out. They're finding problems and inconsistencies. They're just every person looking at it. That's what they do. It's what they've been trained to do.
Mhm.
And every little bit of that pushes the value of the files up higher.
Right.
And not just the value of the files in terms of the settlement, but also keeping an eye out for them and making sure, like double checking the doctors,
Mhm.
making sure that, because a lot of medical stuff is dictated by what health insurance will pay for. It's not dictated by what would be in the best interest to cure this person.
Right.
But when it's from a car accident and we know that we're pursuing a claim, we have to get involved sometimes and be like, listen, I don't want my client's medical to be managed by some health insurance company, some bean counter sitting in an office often in Bloomington, Illinois.
Mhm.
I want medical decisions made by medical personnel. And we work with those doctors to empower them to be like, you do for our client what it's going to take to get them better, period.
Just-
Don't compromise.
But it's just
Right.
like your family would do for you
Exactly.
if you got into a terrible situation.
Mhm.
They would make sure that the right things happen.
And it
to
goes
you.
beyond the file too.
Yeah.
It's not just a piece of paper. It's
It
every
goes-
single
it goes
individual
beyond
person.
Trust.
Yeah.
It's really caring about the people
Yeah.
you deal with.
Haven't you ever heard people say in the medical system, you've got to advocate for yourself. You've got to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Most people still don't. And I think that's part of the role that we play is helping people even know what that means, or sometimes doing it ourselves, advocating for people to get the treatment they need. Sometimes you have somebody who's going to a doctor, their back hurts. They've been going for 3 months. They're just not getting better. They're getting worse. But the doctor isn't necessarily recommending a next step.
Right.
And we've done this long enough to say, we're not saying, hey, you need this surgery or you need this medication, but we're saying, hey, it might be worth your time to go see a specialist, another doctor who can maybe give you another opinion, and really helping people advocate for themselves in the medical system and knowing when to say, okay, I love my primary care doctor. This person's great. They're great at a lot of things, but this is maybe beyond their scope. And for whatever reason, they haven't, the primary care didn't tell them to, or a chiropractor isn't sending them along. There are a variety of ways that can
things have
happen.
gotten hard. You know, it used to be when you were negotiating hard, you felt like you were negotiating for that extra, for the extra. Nowadays, you have to negotiate just to get the minimum.
Just for what's required.
That's
like,
right.
just to get in the door. You know, that's already a negotiation. That's where things have gotten to.
It starts way low. And then you have to
I mean,
work it up
it's
to where it
gotten
should
to
be.
where, I mean, with everything, and not just in what we do for a living, I think across the board. There used to be a certain, you know, an entry level where you'd have the minimum of what would, and then everything was just how much further could you get above that. Now, it's like you're negotiating from $1 on everything.
But I think that's why when we were talking previously about 7-figure watches and all these conspicuous luxury goods that are here now that weren't here 20, 30 years ago. You know, when we were kids, what was the most expensive car you could buy was, I don't know what it was.
Maybe
I'm sure
50,000,
Yeah,
or
no.
100,000
crazy.
maybe.
No, you couldn't.
When I was
You
kids?
buy a Cadillac for $3,000,
No, but
$5,000.
maybe a
Oh, when
Rolls
you were-
Royce
They said when they
was.
were kids.
Yeah, maybe a Rolls Royce was
These
$80,000.
spoiled kids.
But I remember there's a line in an Ice-T song from like the late 80s where it says 19, drive a $50,000 car. And that was like the biggest flex you could say because that's probably bought you the highest end Mercedes back then.
Exactly.
And now it seems not that long after that $50,000 car doesn't seem that impressive. There weren't cars barely cost 100. I mean, there are now cars that are $3, $5,
it's
$8
insane.
million
It's crazy, but the income hasn't
But
met
I think,
that level, though.
well,
That's what I don't get.
for some.
For
Yeah.
some
That's
people.
what I was getting
That's
at.
the problem.
Is I think that squeeze where you have to negotiate from $1, what that did is that created, I think, the wealth inequality that we see today.
Yeah.
It's really put the squeeze on the little person so that the people at the top can make all of it. I mean, there weren't yachts like there are today. There weren't private jets.
I
You
couldn't
never-
believe some of the yachts I just saw when I was at that conference down in Florida. I thought,
Really?
what are these people doing? What could they? It couldn't possibly be legal. There couldn't be that much legal money to be had.
Right.
Oh, it's
You know,
crazy.
I mean, I've just one after the next, and
just
I'm
all
like,
pulling up, just
just
partying
these
on the boat.
enormous marinas down in Palm Beach.
Yeah. Well,
And
Palm Beach.
even the resort itself, that Breakers is so
Yeah.
incredible. I'm sitting here like total imposter syndrome
Right.
because I'm just there for a conference.
Yeah.
I would never spend that to go. I'm sitting there, and you know what the cars were at the hotel? Like just the hotel cars. You know how they'll run you around.
Yeah.
I guess Mercedes now has the Maybach brand, and they now are making these electric SUVs. They were gorgeous.
Yeah.
I've never seen house cars like this anywhere. I looked them up. They're like 200, 225. But I mean, you know, that's nuts. Maybach, electric, SUV. I mean, my God. And that's just the house car at a hotel?
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah,
No,
crazy.
it's and
What
so
is
many,
going on
right?
here?
There may be a few people. Adnan Khashoggi had a big yacht when we were kids, you know, but
I
now
wonder
it's
how long he's been dead.
30 years. But I remember we lived in Fort Lauderdale for a while over COVID, and they had I think it was 4th of July boat parade that went through the intercoastal. And what you're saying, it is just the one after another of these mega yachts that you just can't believe. Okay, yeah, I get it. 1, 2, 3, 10, a dozen people have them. There seems to be an unlimited number.
It's
of them.
humbling
It really
because you
is.
think you're doing okay in your own life. And I mean, we are.
And when you
But that's
see-
another universe.
But when you
And
see
so
one,
many
what you
people.
don't
There's
realize
levels to this. Yeah.
is that's just indicative of the wealth. That's a
Right,
tiny.
that's a
their
sliver.
Oh,
boat.
yeah, if you have that
That's
much
their
in a boat,
that
that's
they,
just a
they
boat,
use
yeah.
once a month.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, people like I live in Naples. We have a house in Naples, and you know,
Oh, it must be
there's a lot
nice.
of money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think that's another thing with social media is kids.
got a condo in
kids will
Chesterfield.
See, I have a condo in Chesterfield.
It's
Kids
50
see this
it's
on social
55
media,
years
though.
old.
Me and my mom.
That's right. It is me and my mom right now.
That's sweet.
She's staying with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's great.
No, that is good. But no, kids see this on social media and they see these rappers and these singers talk about all these extravagant things and they get self-conscious because their parents don't have these crazy things, or like the universities that they go to. It's like all this information you see on social media melds into your mind of like, I have FOMO. It's fear of missing out.
And
I'm
half
fear
of it's
missing
fake.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Half of it's rented. And,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
But how you're young.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Like, at least in our generation, we weren't like, it wasn't thrown in our face
Right.
everywhere we turned. I didn't, like, to me, and maybe it was different for you, but like in my mind as a kid, if you were really, really rich, it meant that maybe the mom had a mink coat. Like, I don't even know exactly what that was.
I think it was
but
all houses.
You used to hear about that. That was such a thing. Oh, it's a mink. He's wearing a mink.
In Cadillac.
Yeah,
Was a
And
big
that was
thing
it.
back
But it didn't
I don't
seem
know
like
what
that.
it
It
is
wasn't
now.
in our face. And
I don't
now
know
on the
what it is
internet,
now.
it's like every
You-
indulgence, every
you-
great
you know
thing is
where
there
you
just
know
to
where
be
it
like,
started. I remember there was a guy did a piece about, he went and looked at the television series on television, and they went and priced the homes that these people appeared, like somebody who was a police officer, his apartment, and it turned out the apartment was like 300,000. I mean, they made it appear that you could live, just a regular person could live a lifestyle that was totally out
on
of
TV
reach.
shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
That's where it really started.
Like the
and
condo on
lifestyles of the
Friends,
rich
I
and
remember.
famous
Yeah.
got, kind of really kicked off this glimpse into how these other people are living.
Right.
No, I think what you're saying is
What I'm
they
saying-
like on Friends
Right.
or
Yeah,
Seinfeld when they went to
elevate
were like
a lifestyle that they can't. Now they explained it on Friends. They said that
They
it
did?
had been a price fixed apartment that
Oh,
was
no,
Courtney
no, but in
Cox's
most
They didn't
grandmother.
want to leave. That's why
But
they
I
were all
remember
roommates.
Starsky
Yeah.
and Hutch or something
Yeah.
lived in $1 million. It was
Right.
filmed in $1 million.
No, it was like HGTV. It's like, I'm a teacher and I'm a part-time substitute, and we're looking for a $5 million house
Yeah.
on HGTV.
Right.
And
We
they show
would
you,
like a beach view. Let me
And
tell you
it-
something.
and it
I've seen
really-
what those beach
it's
view
hard.
houses
It really
go for. They ain't
started to
getting one.
mess things up.
And it
Although
messes
no
up
longer.
kids
In Naples-
psychologically.
Yeah.
You know,
With the flooding, nobody wants to
I remember,
stuff
um,
anymore.
Really?
Jake Paul.
Maybe
Yeah.
now's my
He
chance.
just fought on Friday.
He did, and
Yeah.
we should get to that.
Yeah.
But I heard him years ago. He was talking. I don't remember where it was, but about how being a young kid, and look, he has reached the pinnacle of what you can do as a YouTuber, social media person, and whatever. And he said how hard it was on him. Even still, sometimes when you get these negative comments and it gets in your head, and now imagine kids who aren't successful, and maybe the comments are right,
Yeah.
but still to have to hear them
Yeah.
at a young
And see them.
age,
Yeah.
it's
In
got
real
to be
time.
so difficult to just take that type of criticism,
Yeah.
or rely on that validation.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember. I mean, I've told my kids, the worst, you do anything you want to do, just don't be an influencer.
Mhm.
Not because I have a problem with influencers. I have a problem with what I think it does to you
And what
as a
access people have to
person.
you. Yeah.
No, it's not even that. I think psychologically, I just think it's very. I think most influencers, who even most successful ones, would tell you it is very, very difficult psychologically, emotionally dealing with some of the horrible things people say about you online.
Doesn't he
Yeah.
have a brother who's a
Yeah,
influencer?
Logan.
Yeah, Logan Paul.
Who's
So now,
bigger?
how did
Who's
they
bigger?
Now,
Well, right now, yeah.
Now Jake.
Jake is only because of the fight, which I think I've seen it had 40 million
60 million,
streams,
I
60
think.
million streams.
Yeah.
They said
It
it
was
was
the
one of the most
biggest
viewed.
streamed and
Oh,
most
I thought you were
bet
gonna
on
say-
it.
Yeah,
watched
but
ever.
But he
had-
made
they had a-
40 million
But they had
from
a
that
lot
fight.
of trouble, didn't they?
They
with
did,
the
yeah.
stream?
And I'll be honest,
It wasn't a good fight. I mean, I watched
Oh,
it. I
it
was
was
excited
terrible.
about
The
it, but it was
buff-
cool for
the
him. Like, it's good
nonstop
for Jake. That's a cool
freezing,
story.
But the freezing and the buffering.
I couldn't believe Netflix couldn't handle that.
It really, and let me tell you, because I've been one predicting that in like within 5 years, you'll never see another Super Bowl on broadcast television. I think every major sporting event will be streamed because they have the money and they're going to try to get these events. But I got to tell you, I think they set themselves back in terms of consumer confidence. Yeah, because I mean, if that had been the Super Bowl and it kept freezing and buffering,
it would've been-
I mean, we would have been in
Although
it would have
for
been
me-
January 6th all
For
over
me,
again.
when the fight came on, it was fine. Up to then, it kept freezing. When the
it got
fight
better.
ended,
Yeah, well, I had one. I didn't even get into the fight. I had watched all the fights. Every time there was a new fight, it froze again because I guess new people were trying to come on. Tyson fight until the second round, it was frozen, and then it came in. Thank God
And
there
Prime
wasn't
Video
a
does
first
a
round.
good job with their Thursday Night Football. Prime Video, I think,
Yeah.
will do
But I
it.
wonder
Yeah,
how
Thursday
many-
Night
but
Football
they have a
don't get that
predictable
kind of
audience.
viewership. Yeah.
But
Not
but
even, probably. That's probably a few minutes.
it was better once the Tyson fight, but the problem is the way you watch these things now, I'm texting with a group of friends. One person's watching the 5th round. I'm watching the 4th round. Another friend's watching the 3rd round.
And then you go online and people are like, they won. And you're
That's
like, oh,
right,
shit, my
right.
stream's not even
Right.
caught
No,
up.
they gotta vastly improve.
They're
do.
doing, on Christmas Day, the Chiefs are playing on Netflix on Christmas Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be
So
interesting.
we'll see if that one goes through. But
Yeah.
but I do think it. The
With a
problem with me is I don't want to
premium
buy
charge?
all these.
No,
different
they don't.
things.
No.
Once
Peacock,
you, it's all
NBC,
just to
HBO.
drive
Well, no, but
subscribership.
you pay on Netflix for some of the movies. I know.
No,
No.
they're all
No.
free. You pay the one membership.
But
Yeah.
Netflix is all just
Well,
one fee.
God damn it, I'm paying.
They're
not paying
screwing you.
extra.
Hey, did you think that fight was sad?
I thought it was
Oh,
sad.
It was
It
very
was-
sad.
it was a
and
little bit.
I think it actually hurt Jake Paul, not financially. I think it made him look like a worse fighter than he was
But
because
he didn't go too hard at him. He didn't knock him out. Like I think he
I
could have
know,
knocked him
but-
out.
and he
Don't
said
you-
I think he
afterward.
could have knocked him
Yeah,
out.
Don't you
he
think
said he
it
could've
looked like
taken him out in
Tyson
the
was
second
done
round.
after
Don't you
2
think it
rounds.
oh,
was- they
I
agreed?
didn't hear that. So
Yeah.
do you
I think he said he
went
held back.
easy?
He
He
said
held
he
back.
did. He said
But I
he
think
had
that-
to. He didn't want to
think
humiliate the
They
guy.
sort of had an
Well, that's-
understanding.
Tyson came out the first thing. I'm like, oh, Tyson's about to knock him out. And then after the first 30 seconds, he was
It's-
done.
I mean-
He's 58 years old.
I mean, you got-
You know
you
what's
know,
interesting?
had that surgery.
Looked just
Looks old.
standing there,
Yeah.
but no, his body for a man his age didn't look bad.
Did you see his butt?
But he
Yes.
moved.
We
Did you
all
see his
did.
butt cheeks?
I saw it live as that moment happened,
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
immediately turned to the person I was with. I'm like, "We're going to be seeing that shot forever."
Oh yeah.
And I
That
mean,
was funny
it was
as hell.
immediately. It was
They did that on
probably
purpose. They went,
of all of the things, that will be the thing
Yeah.
that has the longest shelf life.
I think that's right.
But I think it was sad for boxing.
he walked old,
And-
though. Even
but-
watching him walk out, he looked
But
old.
and he looked a little off balance.
But he
just
looked
standing there.
He looked so much better in training, and then he
Yeah.
had that medical issue. I would have liked to have
What
seen.
medical issue?
I don't remember. He had something in July that caused them
He
to
had some
postpone the fight.
blood that he had to get trained. Like he had half the
Yeah, he
blood
had
out
a
of his
blood
body.
transfusion. He has had some real medical issues, but he looked way better in training. I would have loved to have seen the fight.
Yeah. So
in
were you hoping
July
that he
with
knocked
the-
Jake Paul out?
Everybody
Oh,
was,
yeah,
weren't they?
Every guy over like 50 or in their 40s was like, I want him to knock Jake Paul. And then you have all these young people
Oh,
that are
I
like,
just
Jake Paul.
I wanted him to kill him in the ring.
But that's Jake Paul's whole thing, though. He wants all you guys to
You remember the
you're
guy
talking
who was,
about him.
you know what,
Yeah.
killed
I-
in the ring?
I did not.
You don't remember that when I think it was Dooku Kim, Ray Boom Boom Mancini killed him in the ring.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
don't remember
that was a
that?
big deal when I was young.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember
there
that.
were several.
Yeah, a lot of people
killed
have died in
him.
the ring, but that was the one that
Benny
I remember
not
from
not
when we were
at
kids.
that
Red
level
something.
though. That was a big fight.
That was
Like,
big.
those were
Yeah.
big. Well,
No, Boom Boom
Ray
Mancini
was a big name.
boxer. Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. What did Jake Paul like when because I'm not really familiar with the early part of his career. Like when he started doing YouTube
What did he
videos, what was
do?
he doing?
Oh, he started on Vine.
They were doing
I think.
vlogs. They were just doing like holding the camera, walking around, doing vlogs,
And he'd,
doing
like-
pranks, videos.
Yeah,
and stuff.
pranks. He'd like dance on.
He was
Vine.
on Disney. He was on Disney for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he was on Disney.
Oh yeah.
But
That's
him and his
right.
brother were on Vine. His brother's they're good business people. I mean, what they're doing is the influencers are then starting brands. So now the water you're drinking is Jake Paul's or Logan
Right, they
Paul's
do
Prime.
Prime.
Yeah.
But
Although, did you see that Prime has more forever chemicals in one can than you're supposed to drink in your lifetime?
Trump
or
was
something
drinking
like
it.
that.
Trump
What?
was
I
drinking
drink
Prime
Prime
at
every
the-
day. What do you mean? What's wrong with Prime?
Right.
I thought it was good for you. It says
Get a
Prime.
Geiger counter
But
next
were
to
they,
it.
I drink
were
it
they
every day.
Do you
I
really?
just bought 6 of them before I got here.
I'd maybe give those away.
Seriously? I mean, it's in every store.
They may have changed it, but my God, he's going to be a billionaire off that.
Oh yeah, they will.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Wait,
will be.
let's not gloss over this. Why would they put
I don't know if
something
that's
in
true.
there
I
that's
think
going
that
to
was
kill
that
us?
could have been a false claim. I don't know.
Well,
Why
You
not
might
just
know
take?
better
Why
than
just not just take Gatorade and put it in another bottle?
What's
What
in
do
it?
they
But
put
is
in
I
there?
don't
Gatorade bad
remember.
for you
It
now,
was-
too? They got the red 40.
Well, everything's bad for you.
Yeah, everything got
Jeez.
RFK's got us.
I don't know.
Did you see?
You know what the thing about him?
spatulas are bad?
I
on
think that some of the stuff that RFK says, that's the problem. Some of it, like the anti-vax stuff, I think is really, really
Yeah.
dangerous. Some of it, he is totally right about. The
It gets
food
a certain group
in
of
this
people really
country
hyped up. Yeah.
is really in a lot. Some of it,
Yeah.
some of the processed food, we use things in this country that they would never use in other countries. It's
Yeah.
illegal.
I understand,
I do
but try
think-
feeding 340 million people 3 meals a day plus snacks. It is hard. You know, it is a tough
Well, it's
industry.
expensive is the problem.
It is, and just think of the volume that you need of everything.
But it's
I mean,
just,
it's crazy the volume. Think about how many eggs every day in this country. Just eggs.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it's
really
like,
get into the math, and when you factor in chicken on top of that,
Mhm,
how much,
beef,
just the amount that has to be
cows and
produced,
chickens.
processed,
right, but it's
created
the
on a
ingredients.
daily
It's
basis.
like some of it's unnecessary. Some of it, like the dyes, for instance.
Well,
You know?
remember, they're trying to make it appetizing.
Yeah.
And they know people like salty
Right.
taste, people like sweet taste.
Right, but if you buy, what I'm saying is, you buy Fruit Loops in Canada, or you buy Fruit Loops a mile across the border in the U.S.,
Yeah.
they are two different products.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yes.
I bet you the ones here sell better because they're in bright colors. And people like their fruit things to
Maybe.
look like fruit. We
But
like bright
now,
colors.
but now
we don't
everybody
want gray
is
Fruit
against
Loops.
regulation. I
Mhm.
mean, we're moving away from
In some ways,
regulation.
no. I think that's what RFK Jr.
You know
is
what?
going.
Don't,
Did you
don't
see?
buy any of that crap. That guy's a loon, and
It's a
he
shame.
only put him in to make it to own the libs. That's all he did. It.
Well, years ago, I saw him speak at a conference. This is before he went really nutty. And God, was he impressive.
You know what? Looking back, he
so
was always
good.
nutty.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
did
he
you
was a
see
lawyer.
the thing
He's an
Environmental lawyer, yeah.
But did you see
yet
the
he's not in
stuff-
charge of the EPA.
with the bear? Obviously, everyone saw.
Yeah.
But then there was a littler known story where apparently when his kids were younger, there was a whale that washed up on a beach, and for some reason he wanted the whale head. They drove like 2 hours with the whale head. He cut the head off with a chainsaw
In
and
his
put it
car?
on his roof. And it was, I guess there was some problem with the seals in the car. So the kids, he had them all wearing raincoats because there was liquid from the whale dripping into the
never heard
car.
Mostly
onto him.
ocean water, not all blood.
But that's, I mean,
He's a
isn't that-
crazy
He is.
person.
Of
He's
course,
a-
he's crazy.
But
Certainly should not have any role of responsibility over anybody. I mean, really, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
that's not an arguable point.
Well,
Well, there it is.
I guess
it
the
is.
arguable point is that the president won the election
Right.
and he's doing what he believes is best for the country.
He is not.
And this is,
He-
I'm saying what the
Okay,
argument
never
is.
mind.
Listen,
I'm against it.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't want to be,
What
we'll see
don't
what
you,
happens.
What don't you want to be?
I mean, if that's the way the system works, I
Mm-hmm.
think then the complaint is
Oh,
about the system,
Listen, it's
not
gonna,
about the person.
No, it's going to
I gotta
happen.
say, I agree with
It's
him.
going to happen.
I mean, we may not like how everything went down, but
The
that's
system
Yeah,
worked
that's
as
and
it-
that's what you get to
as it's
do.
designed.
When you win, you get to make your picks.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
We'll
But
see how
that-
the checks and balances
that's
go. I
happened,
can't
you
imagine
know,
they're going to
the-
go very well.
And at the end of 4 years, one of two things will happen. Things will work out and they'll be great, and someone just like him will be reelected, or things will be catastrophic or neutral, whatever it is, and the next election will
People
show
Jerry, you've
will
been
vote
through a
change.
lot of elections. When people say, like, I'm not, this isn't an old thing, but when people say this was one of the most
But you
monumental.
may ask me an old thing.
Yeah.
because
Has
But when-
everyone
I
been
do
like
follow.
that?
What everybody, my dad and all these people, like my older, like they're like, this is the biggest. But I
Yeah.
feel like I
They
hear
say
that,
that
though.
every
I
election.
feel like,
they
but
say
I'm
that.
asking,
And this
like,
was not
Terry,
the
you've been
biggest.
through a lot of elections, but like, was this the biggest, or was it just the most media coverage because we have access to all the
I
media?
believe what they're saying is correct. That,
Yeah.
that people do think
Everyone.
that every election is important.
Yeah.
And
But was that like that
But the
when you were younger?
2016 was a bigger election than
Before Trump
this was.
came into the
Yeah.
picture,
Was it?
it was a
3
different
Supreme Court
ballgame.
justices in a 4-year period. That was a way more important
Well,
election.
but that's only in hindsight.
No, we knew it at the time that there were 3 that were likely going to go in the next 4 years. They were old.
Yeah.
But this is unlike anything.
But
I've
when you
ever
voted
seen.
for like Bill Clinton,
Yes.
Jimmy Carter,
Yes.
was there this public, everyone saying this is the most consequential election of our lifetime?
Yeah, I think that's
That's
not-
always
That's a good
that's-
selling point.
yeah.
You know, somebody
Yeah.
invented it.
Like to get you to get out there
but
and
this
vote.
is,
Yeah.
you know, my experience. This is not like other elections.
Yeah.
This is far different.
well, it's a different kind of candidate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but
It's a different kind of country.
yeah.
whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
We'll see
I
what
just didn't know
happens.
because everybody's like, this is the biggest deal. And I don't know if that's just a sales pitch to get you to
I
get
think
out
it
there.
is-
Everything, honestly,
everything's
everything
the
is a
biggest
sales
deal.
I
pitch,
think
and
it is a
everything's a
sales
sales pitch.
Yeah.
You know,
But you clearly this is different.
What was the first election we voted in? I guess it was Bill Clinton.
it was in 1992, Bill Clinton versus
Are you
it
guys
was
the same?
92 Dole. It was Clinton. Clinton Dole might have been 96. I think it was Clinton Bush in 92 was our first.
Okay.
Because
Oh,
you
yeah.
you would turn 21 that January. I turned 21 that
But think of all the losers.
that August. So by election
Think of
day,
all
we
the
were good.
losers, and just put them up on the wall and then look. in comparisons. That's all.
Who was the first one that you voted for?
Oh, I don't remember.
Well, you turned
I've been
18. Do you think you voted
When you were
in the
18?
first election you could?
I don't know.
Well, let's see who it was. So I'm going to
That's
do a
tough,
little
though,
quick
because,
math.
remember, his birthday is November 6th, so depending on when Election Day fell out.
Oh,
if it
that's
was
well.
before
No,
you-
I
it
don't
could
know.
have
Can
been-
you register? Do you have to be 18 just on Election Day?
I'm sure
Or
I
18
voted.
to register.
When was
Well, let's
Nixon?
see.
When was
let's
Watergate?
see. It is.
Well, you were voting a long time
long
by
time
then,
before, but I'm
Terry.
trying to
Jesus,
go
you were
back.
born in
I
45.
know. I'm going back.
1964, Johnson Goldwater would have been your first presidential election.
And I would have voted for Johnson.
I saw an interesting
Were
thing
you at
yesterday.
university? I guess you were at the college.
They said that election, the 1964 election, was the last time that the majority of white voters voted for a Democrat. And then in 1965, the Voting Rights Act gave black people the right to vote. And from that point on, the white majority has always voted Republican and has never once voted in the majority for
Okay,
the
so
Democrat.
Since 1960.
1904. Oh wait, no.
I
Sorry.
mean, that seems to be significant.
I think Goldwater was, because Goldwater was viewed as a big departure.
Mm-hmm.
He was not
I think
just,
it had more to do with the fact that blacks got the right to vote in 1965.
but I
and
think
'cause it was from that
Goldwater was
point on.
a more radical candidate.
So
than we were used to.
1964 was the first election you were eligible,
Right.
and it was
Johnson
Goldwater
Goldwater.
Johnson. Yeah.
I'm
History
sure.
buff here.
Yeah, listen, that's what I do.
Yeah,
You
that's
knew
good.
that?
He knew
That's-
it. He just
we've
said
been
it.
talking
Wow.
about it for
It's all
5
on
minutes.
record.
Oh, I haven't been listening. I've been trying to do the
No, but he
math.
said it the exact same
Wow.
thing.
Yeah,
He
he
said
did.
exactly what happened. That's pretty crazy.
And what happened? I missed the
Well,
conversation.
what I was saying was that apparently in 64, Johnson was the last Democrat to get a majority of the white vote. And that blacks got the right
Yeah, I
to
heard
vote in
that part.
65. And every single presidential
But
election
did you vote?
since then,
I don't recall.
No.
he voted. He probably voted for
What's the next
Johnson.
election?
Yeah.
When's the next one? It's in 4
After
years.
that. No.
No,
What's
the
the next one
68.
after that?
Oh,
I mean, I know what year, but who ran?
68 was Richard Nixon and Hubert Humphrey.
Oh, wow.
And, 72 is Nixon and McGovern.
Mm-hmm.
And then 76 was Carter and Ford. And I know them all. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I do.
That's
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to think, Carter gets the last laugh on everybody because he's the only one still alive. He's 100 years old. He's
I
still,
wish he
still
would-
making it happen.
I
He's
wish
been in
he would close his mouth.
He's got almost 2 years
You mean
in hospice
You mean
care.
he's saying stuff
No,
or he's
no,
photographs?
every
Service
time you
then?
take
You
the
get it
yeah,
photograph.
forever?
you get it forever.
got
Not at
that-
the same level.
And you get your
Yeah.
salary forever, right?
You know.
Or no?
I wonder.
I think
if he
you
has
do get your
teeth.
salary
That
forever.
always
The
But
makes
salary's
you
not
look
that
worse.
big. I mean, it's big, but it's not.
I think
but I've
now
never
it's
seen-
Oh, wait, hold on. We
400,000.
got two things going.
I've
on.
never
Presidential salaries, you get those
We-
for life. But you get them at the amount that you got them when you were president, right? You don't
Wait,
get the increases.
so they give you I think it's $250
Now it's
Well, no,
400.
but like Jimmy
400.
Carter, probably it was 125.
But
then.
you're saying once
they
you're
get
out of
Secret
office,
Service.
you
I
get
think you
the
get it
same-
forever. Yeah.
You get a pension.
It's
I
a
mean,
salary.
if you think about it, do you really want your former president forced to take a desk job
You
somewhere?
know
It
what
doesn't
was
look good.
interesting? I
Right.
went to the Southern White House for Truman. And Truman got out of the presidency. He had to borrow money from his mother-in-law to get back to Missouri.
Probably gambling.
No, he had no money. He
Yeah.
never made any money. He was a judge,
Mhm.
and then he went and became president. And then when he got out, he had no money.
On the plus side, like with Biden, we're not going to have to pay him much of a pension.
You never
Not like
know.
Carter.
maybe.
Carter's cost us a fortune.
Yeah, millions.
That's
Guy's
right.
been out of office 44 years. He's still lingering on.
How many
Yeah,
living
you should
presidents?
look up what his salary was.
There are very few. Aren't there?
George
4 or
W.
5?
Yeah,
Obama.
all you have is Carter,
Carter.
Clinton, W, Obama, Trump, and Biden.
Clinton, yeah. Biden. Well,
You know.
Biden's still president.
He's still president. And Trump counts twice. That's because they're
Oh,
non-consecutive
Trump
terms.
counts.
Counts twice?
Yeah. Well, now just once.
His
Well,
his salary
yes,
was
but will be.
200,000. 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Carter was getting 200 back then. I'm pretty sure it's 400 now.
Yeah, and then a
Well-
$50,000 expense account, which I don't know what that means, but I guess they could. Just
You know,
spend
it's you
50,000
don't
on
make
Amex.
that much money
That was good then.
in government.
200,000.
You make it
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
get out of government.
Depending
Yeah,
on
I'm
the
sure
position.
he made his
yeah.
money on the lecture circuit.
I have
some books.
a neighbor in Florida
Mm-hmm.
who was the ambassador to China.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a big deal.
That's a big country to be ambassador.
And
to.
Right.
And he said he almost went bankrupt. They didn't give him nearly enough money. You got to do a lot of entertaining.
Yeah.
And he said they never would pay for stuff, and they use their own money to do a lot of
So I
the.
think it's like kind of like a college athlete, like a really good college athlete. Obviously, you don't make money now. You do with NIL, but after that, you can use that fame to get better jobs.
No,
or work
now,
at other
yeah,
stuff.
now you do great
Now you can do it.
opportunities.
You have
yes.
little, not always, but like you have a little bit more opportunity after. But no, that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think back. My first election, I'm 29, so it was that 11 years
Little
ago.
baby.
So 2013, 14. I think that was
So you're
when I was September of 2014 was my senior year.
So Clinton Trump was your first presidential.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't seem that long ago, man.
Yeah, it does.
Obama.
Jeez.
No.
I was
Obama
during.
was 12.
Wait,
Obama was
Hillary
12.
Clinton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But to think of that as like my whole adult life has been this Donald Trump versus whoever it was
Yeah.
at that time, which is crazy because it feels like it's only been 8 years, but it's been 8 years. That's my whole adult life. You know?
Well, when we were younger, I remember how long was it that there was either a Bush or a
Well,
Clinton?
now Bush, Clinton,
What was it?
Biden, Trump takes us all the way back to 1988. Just the four names.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
You know, I mean, it's
It's crazy. So what do you guys? What legacy do you guys want to leave on St. Louis? You know, I mean, I know you guys are obviously still so active in all these different things that you're doing, but it's a hard question. But you've built this huge legacy. Everybody in St. Louis, I feel like, knows your guys' names. You
Right.
know, which is already a legacy in itself. But what goes beyond that is the stuff you guys do in the community. Is it the staff? Is it the team? The people you help? I mean, is there a good answer to that question? Or is it?
I think it's nothing monumental for me. I think you want to be known as a good, solid business, a pillar in the community,
Mhm.
people who did good for the state of Missouri, and
Mhm.
we have clients all over the country, but I think our impact is really felt in the state of Missouri.
Mhm.
And I think just leaving people thinking these people left this state a little better than they found it.
What about you, Terry?
Oh, that's all you can ask for.
You ever think about, because we've helped two Bush stadiums filled of people, not including even Mass Tort, 100,000 clients.
100,000, yeah.
So, you ever think about that? You ever think about filling that stadium twice and thinking
No,
that the work that we did got
Getting them all
all of these
together.
You know
people's
what?
lives
And those are the
back on
ones that
track?
you've
We
won-
were
that
lucky.
You've won for them, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to earn a nice living by helping a lot of people get money they would have never, that they deserved and would have never gotten without us. And we changed some lives.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know how much, I don't know who, but we did, and we worked hard. And that's really the most you can ask of a career.
Yeah.
You know, we provided for our families and we helped a lot of people.
I think we've
Yeah.
changed a lot of lives.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what else could you
And
ask
that's not just
for?
the people that you picked, like all the people that have worked there too. You got to think of all the employees and
Yeah, I keep telling them I'd love to have someplace.
A reunion?
A list.
Oh.
You know, like on the
Yeah.
wall. We should do that.
Is everybody that's
'Cause-
ever worked there? I bet you we could put that together. I don't know how many people would want to come back, just because not everybody always leaves under the best circumstances.
But most of
They're
them.
invited
most of them do.
anyway.
The truth is, I would love to sit down with any of them.
Yeah.
I really would. I mean, anybody that's ever worked there, I know you have some good memories of. You have some
course.
good
Of
stories.
course, we've made
Mhm.
wonderful
course.
people
You know,
who helped us and did a lot of the hard work
Mm-hmm.
and helped a lot of people. And we have we've spawned a lot of law firms.
Yeah.
Of people that worked for us that
Mhm.
decided they wanted to do it themselves.
Mhm.
And I'm always happy we've helped everybody who's ever left, to earn a living and make a career for themselves.
Yeah.
And they've all sort of patterned themselves after what we taught them.
That's good.
So we've done good.
So it is the STL Bucket List Show. We got to talk about your guys' favorite spots in St.
Mm.
Louis. So that's how we
Mhm.
created the whole show,
Yes.
is off of our favorite spots. So I'm going to go around the table, Ed. What's on your bucket list? And this isn't things that you want to check off before you die and stuff like that. This is just your favorite spots in St. Louis. Stuff that when people come in town or maybe when you get a day off, these are the restaurants you're going to. These are some of the experiences that you love about St. Louis.
well, for me, they're all tied usually to specific food items.
Okay. Yeah.
So I always tell people, whenever I have people that come in from out of town, I love to go to Bubba's. Remember we did the episode of Bubba's to get those
Yep.
meatballs.
Mm-hmm.
Their meatballs at Bubba's are a treat, and they do them either as a slider or in a full sandwich. So even when I'm dieting,
Where
I
is
can
it?
just get a slider. It's off of in that area around Jameson and
South City.
Arsenal
area.
area, the Arsenal area, around there. I always do that. I always tell them the sloppy Giuseppe at Adriana's
You
is
like
one of those
that.
treats.
Ooh.
I love Max Local Eats. So a lot of them are those kind of food, and not fancy foods.
Those are just quick
Foods that
service
anybody
restaurants.
can enjoy. Now, if they do want to get fancy, and I mentioned this on Best Bite in St. Louis when
Yeah.
you were on, and I went there that night
Oh,
because I
did you?
couldn't get it out of my head.
Dang.
I was able to get a reservation at 5:00, so I got to go and watch them basically open the place
Where are we
at
talking?
Louis
Yeah.
in Des Moines, and I got their gnocco. That
You'd like
gnocco
that.
is one of as a comfort food item.
Hmm.
It's like one giant gnocchi, so it's a gnocco. It's like
But
a big
stuffed.
potato pasta ball
Mm-hmm.
covered in this most delicious beef ragu, lamb ragu. I mean,
Sounds good.
it's just a pure comfort food. It's like an Italian shepherd's pie.
And
is
there's
the
beef
closest I can
inside
go.
it, maybe?
Delicious.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean,
And you went there right after the
I
pod.
went
That's
there
so
right
funny.
after, and they serve it the only way that food should be served, piping hot.
Yeah.
That
Steaming
way
hot
you
plate.
steaming.
Yeah.
You put that first.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you sat at the
God.
bar. That's one of the best seats in
That's
town
just
too, because you can
so
see like that beautiful.
good.
Yeah, it is. That's
All right.
great.
So
It's a good
so
spot.
for me, and I always tell people if they're out of town, I don't care how many zoos you've ever gone to, I believe, and I've gone to all of them. The St. Louis Zoo is the best zoo in the country. It is, and I'm not, I'm not from here originally. I've seen them all. I've been to the San Diego Zoo. People grew up say, "Oh, the San Diego Zoo." Nothing compared to the St. Louis
San Diego Zoo is very difficult. It's a much different thing. It's not,
It's
you got to
not a-
get on
it's not a-
buses
yeah.
and
It's not
it's
park your
crazy
car and walk.
expensive.
It's
right.
a different experience.
I live
This
very
one's much
close to
better.
I
the
heard the
zoo.
San Diego Zoo is
And
nice.
it's just so accessible.
Yeah.
You could go there for an hour.
Right.
Well, we live very close.
We
but
used to walk there, like just do our walks.
it's
Yeah,
great.
You just walk straight through
Yeah,
it.
But you
it's
have
great.
gems. What was that place that we went to that they had the women's law thing out? That 21C,
Oh yeah, 21C Hotel.
Oh,
the hotel, that
that
museum,
place is
restaurant.
really cool.
Wow,
Idlewild.
what a
Idlewild, the
what a
Spanish restaurant.
Yeah.
what a gem that little
It's
establishment
worth. We've
was.
gone down there just to walk around.
Yeah,
It's a really cool space.
really cool artwork
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
like real
Everybody's talking
accessible.
about that stuff too. Like that place when it opened, I mean, that's a big deal. One of those. That's
Yeah.
a franchise. It's
Yeah.
a small boutique hotel franchise.
I only was there that one time, and I got to tell you, it was like
Did
I
you go to
was
the restaurant?
Totally
too?
impressed.
You went to Idlewild? Or you just
we
walked
didn't
through
do
it?
a whole meal. We
Yeah.
actually were supposed
That-
to eat
that
there last
restaurant's
Monday.
great.
Yeah, it's
we
good.
had to cancel on people. He wasn't
Yeah.
feeling well.
Yeah.
We got to get that rescheduled.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
what about you guys? What are your hot spots?
Oh, the Fox Theater. It's a treasure.
Yeah, it's
we were
amazing.
just there.
Oh, not
I
just
mean-
food, anything?
Yeah,
Just
anything.
the-
Just
just-
experiences.
But just to look at
Just like
it,
things
What
that
did
you
you see at
love.
the Fox Theater?
Peter Pan.
Oh yeah, it just
Andy
came out.
took me.
Yeah. Oh, you guys both went.
But it's just such a
No, it wasn't the two of us. It
spectacular
was
place.
so we
The
have
kiddos?
season tickets to the Broadway
Would
series.
it have been so bad?
It would have been weird.
If it was
the
just you two
of
seeing
us?
Peter
They did,
Pan.
and they
taking
wore the outfits.
I'm taking my son.
It was
No, I
It's
dressed.
always with the
I'm
green
Captain.
top.
I'm Captain Hook. He's
Feather.
Peter Pan.
It wouldn't have been bad if you two went, but it's
Not
more fun
bad.
with
It
the
would have
grandkiddos and
just
stuff.
been-
I'm
Yeah.
assuming you took a couple of the kids.
My wife and one of the kids. We have season tickets to the Broadway series, so which forces you to go to everything, which I think is good because Peter Pan's a bad example. I would not have bought tickets to that. It wasn't that it was bad. It's just
It forces you to go
it's a
experience
kids
things.
show. Yeah, and there are a lot of shows. They're like, I don't know, or you don't know what it is. This way, you just go to all of them.
Yeah.
Some are good, some are great, some are mediocre.
Yeah.
But you see
It's
it.
always a good time.
It's
Yeah.
always a good time.
Yeah.
And it's
special.
and it is,
It is a special
really
place.
a spectacular place. Does every major city have something like that or no?
lot
Yeah, I
of
mean,
them
most
do.
of them will have a theater, but the Fox Theater is kind of famous. I mean, we are kind of lucky.
Mhm.
Now, it's a lot larger than a Broadway theater.
Yeah.
Way bigger.
By
And
about
just
4
the
times.
The ceiling, when you just look up.
What is it?
it's
About
amazing.
3,000?
Well, in
Something
that
like
case, it's
that.
even bigger than that. Yeah, because
A lot
on
of
a
those Broadway
Broadway
ones are
theater is like 400 or 500.
Yeah.
Even the biggest, like the Gershwin Theater, like where Wicked is maybe 2,200, and that's by far the biggest.
Mhm.
Most of them are much more intimate. But
Yeah.
the Fox, and I think they must have done something to improve the sound.
They
Because
did.
I've noticed in the last season or two, the sound quality's been a lot better than it used to be.
Oh, I went. Sometimes you just can't even hear. I've been to shows where I
Yeah.
couldn't really even hear
Do
There's
they still
muffin
have
dialogue,
those
yeah.
things you can get? Can you still
No,
rent
I
No,
don't
they
think
don't
so.
do that.
That's gone?
So what are the
Maybe.
gems? You didn't name any gems.
Crown Candy. You
Crown
can't
Candy.
forget.
You know,
Yeah,
places
Andy.
like Carl's Drive-In. I really, I love it. You know, if it opened today, I think I'd love it. But I love the idea of it too. It's been around. You know, there's a picture of in there that I think has been there since the time of like when the arch was being built.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's been around since the 50s.
Yeah. That's a good spot.
O'Connell's. Some of these St. Louis institutions.
Yeah.
There's just something.
What do you
really,
miss that used to be here that's no longer? And you're like, you know what? Of all the places that closed,
There was a restaurant called Mirasol in the Loop that then became the original pie pizza in the Loop.
Mm.
And Mirasol was really great.
What food was that? What kind of food
It
was
was,
I remember.
that? I know the spot.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would
also
describe it.
Fairmont Park. You ever
Yeah.
go to Fairmont Park?
Oh, the horse races?
Yeah,
I
it's-
did
it's
remember
fun.
we went there. That we did a fun day out there.
We
A
up
should
place
the
get
like
apartments.
O'Connell's,
Yeah,
a
no.
St. Louis institution.
Well, yeah, I mean,
right off
I
Hampton,
was
yeah.
thinking, Mike Shannon's when that was downtown.
Yeah, we
if
used
you
to
went
go there
down
all
to
the
the
time.
Yeah.
lower floor, he had one of the greatest memorabilia collections.
He
down
still has
there.
his logo on that building. That building's still there. It
Really?
still
I don't
has
think
his
anybody's
logo
in
right
it
there.
right
now.
Ballpark Village, I think, bought it. They own it.
I don't know that I'd put this bucket list because it's new and not certainly far from a St. Louis institution, but I ate at this hot pot restaurant in the Loop, Umami Seasons. Have you been there?
I heard of that. My team
It
went there.
is-
They said it was amazing.
It was
So
really
you guys did the whole
great.
experience? You guys
Yeah,
did it?
yeah.
That's amazing.
And eating hot pot is always kind
We
of
have access to a
fun thing.
lot of a lot of different cuisines. Just right on South Grand, right on the Del Mar Loop, you can really experience almost
Yeah,
anything
you
you
can.
want. That's perfect for these students.
Speaking
that
of
come here.
Grand,
Yeah.
they used to have a place, Garavelli's, down there,
Mhm.
right, just off Grand, where there was a pool hall on the first floor, and then you'd walk up the steps to a
Yeah.
old waiters. I love old waiters.
Yeah.
That really
Dress
Yeah.
up nice.
have been there way too long. They're not happy.
Right, they're
about
so they're
Oh,
wearing,
you know-
it, wearing the
Great
same
food.
tuxedo, right?
Yeah.
That they
But
had
the
on.
they're so
collars
good,
have
though.
gotten
They're
so
so
big
brown.
because their
Yeah.
necks
Yeah.
have shrunk.
Chris's
from age.
on Lindbergh
Great place.
Oh yeah,
Is-
that steak
is sort of
place.
a St.
That's
Louis
that's
institution.
legendary.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, one thing that most people say on here is Paul Mano's is their favorite
Oh yeah, now
restaurant.
I
People
live right
love it.
behind Paul
I think I've
Mano's.
been there,
My
but
wife
it's been
teaches
a
right
while.
over there at Parkway Central,
Is
right
that
down the
Paul
street.
Mano's?
Yeah.
Which Central,
Yeah,
middle
Parkway
or
Central
high
is the
school?
high school. Yeah.
I just did a last Friday. I spoke at the middle school.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
I was
been there,
helping
but
there.
I've recently
We're about
come
to go for our first time. We haven't been either. But
Yeah,
everybody
Paul
keeps
Mano's?
everybody that
I
comes
love
on the
Paul.
podcast says Paul
I gotta go
Mano's
Paul
and
Mano's.
Louis are their two favorite.
And with Paul
restaurants.
Mano's, they don't do online reservations.
I know that's why I
And you
haven't
need
been
a
there,
and you
'cause
need a
gotta
reservation.
What do you have to call?
You got to
Yeah,
call.
you got to call.
Nice.
And good luck. Good luck. Hard
Yeah.
getting a reservation.
Huh.
They
Is that
still
way
have
out
it.
Olive Street Road?
Yeah, I
it's
live
on
right behind it.
Chesterfield.
I had
and
lunch
all
with John, or dinner with John Carney
Yeah.
It's a good
John
place.
Carney's
Is
Yeah,
that
and
the
it's-
place we
they
ate
kick
with
it-
Josh Corson and his
there.
partner
Long time
once?
ago, maybe.
They
I
kick
don't
it old school in there. It's a lot of Sinatra
Yeah.
stuff, Dean Martin and what have you, and the music and the
all these-
atmosphere.
Like Frank and Helen's. I like those kind of places. But
Yeah.
the place we ate on the podcast that one day, I've never been there, but I really would like to go there.
Mhm.
There are all these pizza places that I didn't realize even existed that have been there forever, like
Yeah.
the 40s,
Yeah.
50s, Peroni's.
Faraci.
Faraci is one of
My
them.
mom worked there in Ferguson,
Is it
yeah.
Montebello's? Or
Um,
something? That,
Peroni's really good. I like Peroni's. They
Have
got
you
one
eaten
on
there?
Yeah, they do the take and bakes, but so does Faraci. And Faraci had one in Ferguson, and my mom
Yeah.
used to work there way back in the day.
Yeah, so we did
Yeah.
it on the podcast because
Yeah.
I found that there are all these. It's almost a second style of St. Louis style
Yeah.
pizza
Yeah.
that is in sort of a sheet pan style.
Yeah.
I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, they put a lot more meat on it. They're like, if you get a Faraci half bake, it's just all sausage, like just filled with
Okay.
sausage. It's good.
Nothing wrong
Wow.
with
I'm
that.
trying to think of a restaurant you guys got to try. If you guys like fancy, you got to try Esca. It's ES.
Esca.
Oh,
Oh, my
I
God.
just
Oh.
ate at Esca
It's
2 weeks
My
ago.
wife has eaten there
Unbelievable.
so
Yeah,
many
I
times.
had a very
times.
good meal there.
It's
They asked her
and
to-
the vibe there is unbelievable.
They
Like,
asked
you
her
feel
not
like
to
you're
come
like, where are
back
we
for a
at?
while.
'Cause she's
Let
still
other
there.
people eat there.
Yeah. So she gets
it's great.
Ben, the owner, will come around with the dessert cart and like hit the bell. Like
Oh,
their drinks are there. Like
I think
how
that's
you-
a
yeah, maybe when you're not there with
STL
her.
bucket list.
Yeah, maybe.
Experience.
I was
I
glad
didn't
to see
that.
that they were
I didn't
willing
get
to
any
put some
bells.
nicer places on that part of Del Mar. I
There's
would
more
love
coming.
to see that.
Well,
There's more
built
coming
up.
over there.
He
too.
was very passionate about the Del Mar Divide
Yeah.
and was initially the Deli Divine
Yeah.
he put there in a building called the Del Mar Divine. I think he worked
It's
with
Maxine Clark.
Maxine Clark, who is the owner of Build-A-Bear, to kind of build up that area. He moved, I think his leases were up or something happened.
Yeah.
I think he moved all of his restaurants or is in the
So
process
it's
of
going to
moving
connect
like
King's
5
Highway with
restaurants.
the Del Mar Loop, and
Yeah.
then the Fountain and Steve's Hot Dogs went there.
Right, right.
And then Third Degree Glass, which is Doug and Jim McKelvey, the founder of Square.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Big money. There's a lot of money going right in that strip. To if they can connect
Yeah.
that
If they
strip,
can connect that, that
it's
would
gonna
be
beautiful.
huge.
And
It
those
would really
restaurants
be great.
are out of this world. To see that restaurant right in the middle of that street, it's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, and it takes a bold move. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
a bold move.
It is.
That's a big
build-out.
gamble.
Yeah. And it's
And
working right now.
I hope that the neighborhood cooperates. I hope that there's an appreciation on some level there
Yeah.
that this is such a good thing for that
It's
entire
hard.
community. because the second that there's a crime over there, that it's going to be just like what happened on Washington Avenue with that carjacking and that one carjacking years ago in front of Flamingo Bowl. It just felt like that stopped all of the forward momentum that had been generated over there.
We're
Yeah.
a skittish people.
We are. Well,
We're
I
trying,
mean,
though.
listen, we're
It
trying to
doesn't take
preserve
a
our
lot.
lives.
We're trying.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't take a lot in St. Louis to
Mhm.
ruin a place.
Well, I appreciate you guys for coming
True.
on.
Yeah, thanks for having
no.
us.
Yeah, STL Bucket List Show. Got you guys on. Hey, we'll have to
That's
get
it.
you guys on here in 2025. We'll get you a custom beer made.
For sure,
Three
yeah,
lawyers,
well,
three
I mean-
lawyers on a beer.
There you go.
Three
We'd
lawyers
love
and a
it.
beer. If the podcast doesn't work out, maybe we can get in the beer
That's
business.
Yeah. Maybe we should be putting out a whole line of alcoholic drinks, like mocktails.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Oh.
a smart play for us.
Have you noticed this? So there is a tremendous amount of regulation in the cannabis industry, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But there was a federal hemp bill that passed a number of years ago. And in recent times, they have figured out how to concentrate the THC in hemp
Yeah.
so that it is psychoactive
But it doesn't have
an
the same
identical.
things. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It just there's a different process to get it. And so I just noticed this recently. You go into grocery stores and there are beverages with THC in them. You buy them at bars now. You buy them at grocery
Yeah.
stores. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Some of these dispensaries now that sell the hemp derived, no regulation. I don't even think you have to have an age limit. And it's just everywhere. It's
It's
crazy.
called CBDG or something like
We're
that.
living,
No,
we're
no.
living
Oh,
in
it's real
beautiful
THC.
times.
This is THC.
Mighty Kind does it. The guys over in the
Delta
Hill.
9
Yeah,
THC identical chemically. It is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just where it comes from is hemp
Yeah.
as opposed to the cannabis plant.
Yeah.
And it's
And you
crazy.
just buy it at the
When
grocery
are we
store.
getting mushrooms?
It's that's going to be
Soon.
a while.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
because
kidding.
didn't they
That's
just have a vote on it? And one of the states just had a mushroom.
So a number of
on their,
states have it.
but they didn't
I
pass.
bet Oregon.
Oregon does. I'm
A number
sure.
of states.
I don't think it
in
passed, though.
Washington D.C. you can buy them in dispensaries.
Really?
Yeah.
In capsules, like little,
No,
or you
no,
buy
like-
the actual fungi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, I've never.
There-
I've
there are
never
a
tried
number
that.
of Denver,
I
I think you can buy 'em.
No,
You've
I
never
stay.
tried?
I stay
don't-
with the
You don't take
law.
like a guy that would do it.
I'm
I feel like he'd
I'm a,
freak out.
I'm a
don't you?
square.
Could you see him freaking out on some mushrooms?
Yeah, probably.
No, I would.
But if they were legal, you would try 'em.
If it was legal, I would try it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I do not ever.
I could
And you've
see you-
always been like that. You're like,
Always.
if it's against, and that's good.
I
Yeah.
got to sleep the sleep of the peaceful, man.
I
Yeah,
could see you
can't
going
mess
down
around
and
with
doing
that stuff.
No, I get it.
one of those luxury mushroom retreats
Oh
in
my.
Mexico
That's
or
what Aaron
Jamaica.
Rodgers did. He did the ayahuasca. Remember when he went in the darkness?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
They go in dark for 7 days. They don't
Yeah,
speak. And
there's
they
a
just
guy
trip.
you want to.
Oh, he went for 7
or like
days?
2 days.
Did he
I
really?
don't know, but they
didn't
all
seem-
talk about it. A lot of
and he
celebrities
still-
I was
talk
thinking
about
of
it.
doing a
And
silent
he's still crazy.
retreat.
Yeah,
You know,
he's
they
no
do
better.
silent
Yeah.
retreats. Have you ever thought about that?
No.
No.
I think that'd be tough for you guys
I have
Not
a
for
friend who
me.
did it.
to go silent.
I would have no problem going silent.
Really?
For
I don't think
days
Terry
and
could.
days.
As long
I
as I'm
don't.
not
Terry
around
did
them,
kick
I
him
don't-
out.
I don't
Well, you're
know
around
why-
people.
Why
I don't
would
wanna
you?
talk to them.
Why would you want?
You can
to?
cut it, Matt. You're good.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.